Debra Winger, an icon of the 80s, achieved resounding success with An Officer and a Gentleman, 1982, and was nominated for an Oscar. However, she later revealed deep regret about participating in the film, not because of the script or the director, but because of a co-star. The cat and dog relationship on set turned this experience into a nightmare, leaving scars despite the film's immense success. What happened between the two stars that made Winger regret a career peak? A fateful encounter. In the golden era of 1980s Hollywood, when movie stars shone brightly and romantic dramas dominated the box office, Debra Winger was an undeniable name. She was not just a beautiful face on screen, but also a talented actress, with a versatile range and challenging role choices that set her apart from many of her contemporaries. Winger possessed a unique allure, a certain edginess, yet also a vulnerability, helping her touch audiences' hearts in many classic works, defining her image as a profound and distinctive star. In 1982, Winger's career seemed to reach its pinnacle with her role as Naval Aviation Officer candidate Paula Pokrivki in the film An Officer and a Gentleman. This work quickly became a box office phenomenon, grossing hundreds of millions of dollars and receiving countless accolades from critics. The explosive chemistry between Winger and her co-star Richard Gere became iconic, helping to shape one of the most memorable romantic moments in cinematic history. The film not only solidified her position, but also earned Winger a prestigious Oscar nomination, seemingly a brilliant highlight in her career. However, behind the glamour and applause, a little-known truth was revealed by Debra Winger many years later, causing a public stir. She frankly expressed her deep regret about having participated in this blockbuster film project. What could make a talented actress like Winger feel such remorse about a role that brought her so much success and fame? The answer lay not in the script, the director, or Hollywood pressure, but rather revolved around a personal factor, a specific individual, Richard Gere. The cat and dog relationship between Winger and Gere on set, the behind-the-scenes tensions and conflicts, turned this filmmaking experience into a nightmare for her. So what truly happened between these two leading stars, and why did a resounding success leave an indelible scar on Debra Winger's soul? Film context and production process. Before becoming a cinematic icon, An Officer and a Gentleman went through a challenging pre-production process. Initially, the script by Douglas Day Stewart, a former naval officer, was rejected by many studios because its storyline didn't follow the typical romantic film mold. However, director Taylor Hackford saw its potential and was determined to bring Zach Mayo's coming-of-age journey to the big screen. The casting of the two main roles, especially the pairing of Richard Gere and Debra Winger, was considered a key factor. Richard Gere at the time was a rising star with a charming appearance and deep acting ability, particularly after the success of American Gigolo. He was chosen for the role of Zach Mayo, the arrogant young man with a yearning for acceptance and advancement. In contrast, the role of Paula Pokrivki, the strong and pragmatic factory worker, required an actress with personality and the ability to convey complex inner emotions. After much consideration, Debra Winger was the chosen name. She was known for her gritty roles, unafraid to express both vulnerability and bluntness, perfectly fitting Paula's image. The combination of a charming Richard Gere and an authentic, powerful Debra Winger created a promising on-screen couple, expected to generate explosive chemistry and draw audiences to theaters. A difficult relationship on set. However, behind the camera, the relationship between Debra Winger and Richard Gere was entirely contrary to the passionate romance they portrayed on screen. Rumors of tension and conflict between the two stars spread throughout the set and later became a hot topic in the media. Debra Winger did not hesitate to share the difficulties of working with Richard Gere. In a 2018 interview with the Washington Post, she once called Richard Gere a brick wall and said that acting alongside him was not a pleasant experience. She even humorously, but pointedly, joked that they only kissed when the cameras were rolling and that neither of them felt comfortable working together. Specific behind-the-scenes stories also shed more light on this strained relationship. For example, there were reports that Winger and Gere frequently argued about acting approaches and about who would stand out more in scenes. Winger, with her straightforward nature and dedication to her craft, likely found it difficult to reconcile with Gere's working style or personality, leading to avoidable clashes. Furthermore, in Melissa Painter's biography, Debra Winger, The Wild Ride of a Hollywood Star, there were excerpts describing Winger feeling dismissed or disrespected by Gere during filming. At one point, she reportedly told a crew member, "He's like a brick wall, he's not there with me, and I'm struggling to connect." These remarks indicate Winger's deep frustration with their collaboration. In stark contrast to the romantic image the film depicted, the actual relationship between the two lead actors was filled with tension, personal conflict, and a lack of rapport, making the film's production a major challenge for Debra Winger. This raises a big question. How could they create a classic romantic film from such a turbulent relationship? Personal and professional conflicts with Richard Gere. Although an officer and a gentleman brought Debra Winger resounding commercial and critical success, she publicly expressed deep regret about participating in the film. The reason was not due to the excellent script or the opportunity to work with a talented crew, but primarily stemmed from negative personal experiences on set, especially with co-star Richard Gere. The strained relationship between Debra Winger and Richard Gere was not just a rumor, but has been confirmed by Winger in numerous interviews. She described the experience of working with Gere as unpleasant and likened him to a brick wall, a metaphor for a lack of connection, interaction, and even coldness from Gere's side. It appears that differences in acting styles and work attitudes were the main cause of the conflict. Debra Winger was known as a method actress, always wanting to delve deep into her characters, seeking authenticity and emotional connection with her co-stars. She was willing to experiment, expose herself, and demanded the same from her acting partners. In contrast, Richard Gere, though talented, might have had a different approach to his roles, or simply wasn't compatible with Winger's intense working style. This lack of rapport led to them frequently failing to find common ground in scenes, especially those requiring intimacy and explosive emotion. Winger felt unsupported or even hindered by Gere's demeanor. She once implied that Gere lacked interaction, forcing her to exert extra effort to create the necessary chemistry for the film. This not only caused professional difficulties, but also created a tense, uncomfortable atmosphere on set. For an actress who valued collaboration and connection as much as Winger, working with someone who wasn't there with her was clearly an ordeal. Pressure and psychological consequences. Beyond the direct conflicts with Richard Gere, Debra Winger likely faced other pressures during production. Although An Officer and a Gentleman was a major project, maintaining a positive working atmosphere when the two lead actors were not compatible was a significant challenge for both director Taylor Hackford and the entire crew. The pressure of the filming schedule, the director's high demands for iconic scenes, coupled with having to feign romance with someone she felt completely uncomfortable with, eroded Winger's spirit. She may have felt emotionally exhausted from constantly pushing herself to deliver convincing performances, while behind the scenes, tension was rampant. Despite the film's resounding success, this negative experience cast a shadow over all achievements, preventing Winger from viewing it as a wholly positive and fulfilling endeavor. She found no joy in the creative process. Instead, she felt drained and undervalued. For Debra Winger, regretting An Officer and a Gentleman is not merely a behind-the-scenes story, but a deep psychological imprint. Although the film earned her an Oscar nomination and solidified her name, The negative experience with her co-star made her feel that the role didn't genuinely bring the artistic satisfaction she desired. She may have felt that the on-screen chemistry was a deception, not reflecting the truth of the difficult working process. This could have influenced how she viewed subsequent roles, making her more cautious in selecting projects and co-stars. Some critics and fans have even speculated that such experiences contributed to Debra Winger's gradual withdrawal from mainstream Hollywood in later years, as she sought more independent projects or more comfortable, less pressured working environments. This regret is not just about a film, but about a phase in her career where she had to sacrifice personal comfort for public success. Richard Gere's reaction leaves audiences pondering. While Debra Winger has been open about her regrets and difficulties working with Richard Gere, the actor's reaction has been more reserved and distinct. Understanding Gere's perspective is necessary to gain a comprehensive view of this complex relationship. Initially, Richard Gere did not directly and publicly refute Debra Winger's sharp comments. Instead, he often issued more neutral or evasive statements. He admitted there was tension between them on set, but typically framed it as part of the creative process or general challenges of filmmaking. His choice not to add fuel to the fire could be interpreted as an attempt to maintain professionalism, or simply that Gere did not wish to air personal conflicts publicly. However, over time, as the story became a Hollywood anecdote, Richard Gere did, at times, offer praise for Debra Winger. For instance, he once said that Winger opened herself up more to the camera than he did, and he appreciated her presenting him with an award at the Rome Film Festival many years later. These comments, while not directly denying the difficulties, showed a certain respect for Winger's talent and dedication. This suggests that time may have somewhat eased the old tensions, or Gere wanted to view the relationship through a more objective lens. Richard Gere seemingly held a different view of their interactions. While Winger focused on the lack of connection and feeling emotionally abandoned, Gere might have perceived it as a difference in working styles between two strong-willed actors. Hollywood is certainly not short of stories about major stars with contrasting personalities and acting methods. Gere might have believed that the on-screen chemistry was a result of that very opposition, a kind of cinematic magic created from tension and differences. He might not have felt he was the brick wall Winger perceived, but simply an actor pursuing his own method. There are reports that Gere at times expressed discomfort with certain aspects of the script, such as the ending scene, which might have contributed to his overall mood on set, but not necessarily targeted at Winger. The story of Debra Winger and Richard Gere raises an important question for audiences and industry insiders. Should we separate an actor's personal experience from the final artistic product they create? Or should these behind-the-scenes complexities be viewed as an integral part, helping us to understand more deeply the cost of creativity and the challenges artists must overcome to deliver great works?